What's up, guys? I'm BTC. I got a fun little bonus video for you today. There are some good abilities in Overwatch, and then there are some really good abilities. So I'm going to go over the top 5 best abilities in Overwatch. I cover all the Overwatch news, tips, guides, myth busting, all that stuff. This video is going to be kind of a fun little bonus. If you'd like to see more of this stuff, tell me what top 5 lists you'd like down in the comments. Today it's going to be the top 5 best abilities. Now I want to emphasize, it doesn't matter if I play the character a lot or a little, if it's in the meta or not, high pick rate or low, doesn't matter. It's the individual ability only, not the character as a whole. And of course, I'm only counting normal abilities, not the ultimates. We're going to start out at number 5 with the Lucio Boop. Lucio can knock his enemies back with a blast of sound. Everyone knows that anytime there's a map with any sort of pit or edge of a building, there's always going to be a Lucio trying to knock people off with his signature ability, the Sound Wave, more commonly known as the Boop. Such a simple description for such a powerful ability. While other characters have abilities that can knock an enemy into a pit or off a building for that instant environmental elimination, none of them are quite as good as Lucio's Sound Wave. Using the alternate fire on Lucio creates a large cone of damage in front of him that will send enemies flying. Anyone that is even close to an edge is likely to get knocked into the air and sent over for a long and embarrassing fall. Combine this with Lucio's ability to wall ride, and he can sneak up and quickly dispatch multiple enemies, all with a single click. Number 4 is Junkrat's Remote Mine. After placing one of his homemade concussion mines, Junkrat can trigger it to damage enemies and send them flying, or propel himself through the air. For a very long time, Junkrat was struggling to find a place until eventually Blizzard decided to give him a buff in the form of doubling his remote mine. Now Junkrat has not just one, but 2 of these incredibly powerful remotes at his disposal. Most of Junkrat's damage comes in the form of area denial and constant spam, but this ability gives Junkrat significantly more control over some of that damage. It also allows for one of the strongest mini combos in the game. Combining his standard attack with this ability can allow a Junkrat player to almost instantly deal 240 damage, more than enough to take out most players. On top of all that, this ability also allows Junkrat an incredible amount of mobility for a skilled player. Not just controlling himself, but also pushing away potential threats like an enemy Roadhog or disrupting a charging Reinhardt. Even with the most recent nerf that causes the ability to have damage fall off, it still remains one of the best abilities in the game. For the third ability on this list, I had a hard decision to make. I knew I wanted to put one of Moira's abilities on here, but it was a tough call deciding just which one. And while the Biotic Orb is incredibly powerful, ultimately, I had to decide to go with her Fade for the number 3 on this list. For the simple reason that the Fade is one of, if not the best escape ability in the entire game. Moira quickly teleports a short distance while invulnerable to damage. Fade is basically a supercharged version of Reaper's Wraith form. While most of the movement abilities in the game have some kind of restriction or another, and the same goes for other abilities that grant any kind of invincibility, Moira's Fade has none of those. The Fade allows Moira to move incredibly fast, renders her completely invulnerable to everything, and gives true invisibility that is better than what Sombra has. It's also one of the only 3 abilities that's capable of escaping from Zarya's ultimate. On top of all that, a skilled Moira player can use the Fade to get even more movement advantages. A trick called the Fade Boost allows Moira to get significant distance and elevation beyond what the character would normally be able to get. I made a video guide completely explaining the Fade Boost trick in full detail. I'll put a link on screen and down below so you can go and check that out if you want to learn more. Arriving at number 2 on this list is Hanzo with Scattershot. While this ability is going away fairly soon, I still needed to put it on this list just because of how ridiculous it can be. Easily one of the most frustrating abilities in the game is the bouncing geometry from Hanzo. Even when you miss, there's still a good chance of a large amount of damage being dealt. Hanzo shoots a fragmenting arrow that ricochets off walls and objects and can strike multiple targets at once. Scattershot's core strength comes in the ability to one-shot almost every single character in the game. While the initial arrow doesn't do any more damage than a normal shot would, the combined effect of all 6 scattered arrows dealing 75 damage each adds up to a whopping total of 450 damage, more than twice the amount needed to kill most of the enemies in the game, and even some of those in the tank category. What's worse is that it doesn't require a tremendous amount of skill in order to land one of these shots. Simply aim at the ground in front of your intended target and let the bouncing geometry do the rest. On top of all that, the scatter shot is the only one-hit ability in the game that doesn't actually put the player in any real danger or have any drawback whatsoever. Sure, Doomfist can one-hit, but he has to get right into the thick of things. With Hanzo, he can be standing a pretty good distance away and still take you out. And the number one most powerful ability in the game, I'm sure some of you could have guessed, is Mercy's Resurrect. Mercy radiates restorative power, bringing nearby dead allies back into the fight with full health. This ability, that was once her ultimate, catapulted Mercy into the top of the pick rate, far and above all other characters, going as high as 98% at some points. And up until her recent nerf, Mercy was essentially a must-pick in almost every single situation. Having a Mercy on your team was like having 7 players instead of 6, because as soon as someone was eliminated, Mercy would just swoop in and resurrect and bring them back into the fight. This made advancing on defensive positions all the more difficult. If you did somehow manage to pick off one of the enemy team, it no longer was good enough, as now you had to kill that target a second time, unless of course you managed to get Mercy first. Easily the highest priority target on any team, Mercy and her Resurrect are invaluable. Now, even with the recent nerfs to the character that affected her ultimate, preventing her from resurrecting multiple times, the Resurrect by itself is still an unbelievably powerful ability. So there you have it, guys, my top 5 best abilities in Overwatch. Do you agree with my list? What abilities do you think are the best in the game? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching. Make sure to check out my Discord server. Follow me on Twitch and Twitter. The links for that stuff are down below. And remember, always blame the controller, because it's never your fault. Also, special thanks to all my Patreon supporters for helping to make this all possible. If you'd like to see what kind of cool rewards you can get for supporting the channel, check the links on screen and down below.